Hi, I'm Jordan Kapphahn representing K-Rush Fit. Today I'll be showing you my top 10 favorite med ball movements. Remember, with any of the movements that we're doing, it's important that we keep our body in the proper positioning. Form is the most important key to working with any piece of equipment. If we're dropping down, say, weight back on the heels, if I give you form instructions to keep your knees over top of the heels or keep the knee over top of the general foot area, very, very important. Feet are where the rest of your form come from. So foot placement and leg placement are one of the most important things to be doing with med ball. From our first movement, we're going to be taking it into a med ball smash, making sure that your feet are slightly wider than shoulder width apart. You want a slight bend in those knees to protect your lower back. We're bringing that med ball in nice and close to the body. You want the med ball traveling in a straight line. So we're driving it straight up above. Our eyes follow that med ball to ensure proper spinal positioning. Once we hit that upright position, you're using that force of gravity plus added force from your arms to drive your med ball down into the floor while dropping those knees. So you're collapsing, squeezing through that core, catching that med ball. If you're using something that doesn't have as much bounce as this, mainly it's going to stay down on that floor. You're going to want to drop it down, roll it back in, and take it in that nice straight line back up into that starting position. If you have something with a little bit of rebound, like this med ball, as you drive it off that floor, you're just going to catch. Wherever you are, bring it nice and close to the body, reset to that upright position. Make sure you're dropping down perfectly again. Eyes follow that med ball the entire time. For the next med ball exercise, we're going to be moving into a med ball smash. That's also incorporating a rainbow into the movement. So we're throwing that med ball down in a nice straight line, just like our last movement. It's dropping to the outside of the right foot. Should be hitting approximately about a foot away from that right foot. As it travels back up, you're going to grab that med ball, bring it up over the head, squeeze those core muscles through your obliques, and drive it back down on the alternate side. So nice and slow. It looks like you're tossing it down. Catch, engage that core, bring it across, and strike right back down into that floor. You can get a little bit fun at this one, push it a little bit harder and quicker to really engage the sides of the obliques and increase that cardiovascular output. For my next movement, we're going to be moving into a squat with an overhead press. This simulates the same form that you'd be taking with a squat with an overhead Saxon press with a kettlebell. We're pushing those palms together. You want constant pressure on the outsides of that med ball. You're locking your elbows in at about 45, so they shouldn't be way out to the outside. They also shouldn't be in too tight because you might hurt those shoulders. Just a nice comfortable posture. From here, with that back nice and straight, we're sinking it down, weight back through those heels. Notice my knees aren't extending in front of the toes. Once we hit the top of the movement, you're driving up, push that med ball up and away, and your eyes are following that med ball all the way up to ensure that proper spinal positioning. So it's down to the bottom, right back up. Also for this one, if you'd like to modify, you can incorporate a front, so you're just going to be driving anteriorly with that med ball, and it's going to be a little bit more tough on those deltoids and on the shoulders. So it's down, you're going to be engaging those pecs a little bit more. It's down to the bottom of that squat, bring it back up, push anteriorly, so to the front of the body, squeeze those shoulders, bring it back in, and back down into that squat. So it's squat, out front, bring it back in. Notice all these movements are slow and in control. I don't want to be flailing around with that weight just because you can do damage to the shoulders due to that leverage with the arms. For my next favorite movement, I'm going to be moving into some groundwork. Med ball is a very good tool to utilize for working with the core, especially if you're working down from the ground in that prone or supine position. We're going to be assuming supine position, so face up. You're going to need a mat and your med ball. For this one, you're articulating those knees, so you're bending them up to that 90 degrees. You want to make sure that the soles of the feet are flat on the floor, just for stability. From here, we're taking our hands up to 90 degrees, locking those shoulders in position down away from your ears. Slow and in control, you're letting those arms drive up, slight bend to the elbow. We're going to be driving right back in this movement, squeezing through that upper core, locking those lat muscles in just underneath those armpits. You should really feel it through those lats, really feel it through the upper core and through that rectus abdominis. So it's down, nice and slow, exhale on the drop, and then right back up. Squeeze those shoulders down away from the ears, right back up to that 90-degree position. Usually from this, we can move into our next med ball movement incorporating the core because it will be the 50% of the other half of this next movement that I'm going to show you. So that first 50% we've already done, dropping those hands down, driving right back up to 90 degrees. Once we hit that 90-degree mark, Basically, the only thing that we're going to throw into this differently is we're going to be extending those toes out and away. So it goes down, our toes come out and away as our hands are coming back up. We're going to thread that needle through the hole, tap the top of the laces, and it's all the way back out. So notice I'm keeping my back in constant contact with the floor. I'm not letting those heels down. I'm not letting my arms down. It's up, constant tension on the core, all the way back out. Right in, squeeze, and all the way back out. My next matted movement that I'm going to show you is working again with that overhead drop where we're really engaging those lats and locking those shoulders down away from the ears. But it also works a little bit more functional movement with the core, works a little bit of stability, and you're also stacking the body. So you're going to be using a chain of muscles, you're going to be incorporating a little bit more muscular action in than you regularly would be just working some down movements for the core itself without the med ball. So for that med ball, we're going to be placing those feet down flat on the floor, taking that med ball again above the head, slight bend to those elbows, drive that med ball back up. As we drive to the top of the movement though, at 90, that's where you halt. We're not using the momentum of that med ball to drive into our next portion of the movement. You're going to drive up toward the med ball into your sit-up. Notice I'm locking that med ball above the shoulders, above those hips, and stacking the body. And then it's like you're dropping it in a basket. So it's like we're doing a slam dunk on that hoop, bringing it right back in, super slow and in control, taking it back down, using that negative to really hit the core. And then it's hands up over the head and right back in. So it's up. Set that med ball in, nice and slow, take it back, and hands up over the head. Now I'd like to show you a med ball exercise that incorporates a little bit more stability into the movement, a lot of core stabilization, so this is going to be tough. You probably want to pace this in the middle of your workout just because you do need a lot of energy for it. You need a lot of forearm energy for it as well, but you want to make sure that you're warm enough, that you're not going to hurt your knees, you're not going to hurt those hips or your lower back. So when you're nice and warm, we're sinking it down, down, down. You're taking your squat stance a little bit wider than usual, making sure that those knees stay roughly around above those ankles, not too far in front of the toes. We don't want to spike those knees out just so we're safe with those patellas. You're bringing your med ball in. From here, it's going to be a figure 8 pattern around that left leg. Notice my hips are articulating a little bit to work with the weight of that med ball so I don't hurt myself. And then it's back around. Couple other variations and modifications of this exercise as you're doing it is you can bring it up and around your quads. Then you activate a little bit more of the sides of that core and a little bit more of your shoulders, and then back down into those nice low figure 8s. You can switch up your directions. You'll also notice that the quicker that med ball moves around, the easier to lead a hold arm to. You're just using that inertia to push med ball out into your hand and decrease the amount of weight on your shoulder. Otherwise, your wrist flexors are going to get really sore. So make sure that you have a little bit of quickness to this movement, or you're working with a lighter med ball to begin with. And then as you get more advanced and get more used to the movement, you can increase that weight. One of my favorite med ball movements and one of the most beneficial for your core is a wood chopper. We're also using a multi-joint movement, so you got to make sure that you have your primary couple of pieces of form that stick the entire time you're doing this exercise so that you don't hurt those bodies. You don't want to hurt your joints, you don't want to hurt any of the inert structures, you just want to work those muscles. So taking your med ball, this is the way I do wood choppers. Some people have done them differently, a little bit harder on that core, but this is the way that I do it, and it's the safest way that I've found is most effective. We're going to be taking our med ball down to the outside of the right foot. As you drop it down, remember your form, nice straight back. We're not using that lower back. We're going to telescope out with the opposing leg. We're going to bend that right knee. So we're taking it to the outside of the right foot. Nice straight arms, tapping that floor. Notice my knee above the ankle, my hips extended, and that foot's out in order to counterbalance. From here, come up and across the body in a nice straight line. So it's up and across. We're stepping, telescope the other foot, and stretch it across. So how that'll look when you're bringing it back down is, of course, you're setting your foot, bringing it back down, telescoping with the leg, bending the knee, tapping the floor, stepping it in, using that supporting leg and that bent knee to drive yourself back up across the body and out. So nice and quick, you can get it going fairly quickly and super efficiently. If you keep that form perfect, you can really rock that leg that you're dropping down onto. Of course, this movement would be done bilaterally, so you're doing it with both sides in order to ensure that body symmetry. So you're also driving down to that left side and across. To increase your agility and speed, because it's also important to increase the agility, increase your balance, and increase the functionality of the muscles, not just the strength. We're going to move to a bit of a soccer drill. With my med ball, I'd like to place that med ball in between the feet. Depending on where your med ball is placed, you're going to be working different structures in the legs. So I like mine directly in between those feet just so I hit my abductors and adductors. I'm also going to hit those hamstrings, glutes, and some of the quad muscles as well as those calves, because the lower leg definitely gets a beating from this one. So it's left foot out, right foot down. We're hopping up and over, so it's nice and light. You're hopping and tapping that toe. So when it gets moving fairly quickly in progression, it's tough to do slowly. You're just going to be tapping that toe, roughly finding that spot on the very top of that med ball. This is great for cardio. It's great to build that hand-eye coordination. If for whatever reason you need to modify and drop it back, because at this point in your workout you're getting gassed, you're getting a little tired, you can always step it out and still be working that hand-eye, still be working those legs, and hitting a little bit of a pace. If you'd like to modify to make this more difficult, you can also add some circles in there. I like to play around with it, dance it out a little bit. So it's 1 foot up, 1 foot down. Making sure you're still contacting that med ball, making sure that you're keeping it in that general area between your feet and keeping safe. Another med ball movement that I really enjoy for stabilization, because it's very important to work stabilization as well, we're going to be hitting our posterior chain of muscles with a stork dip. This is a weighted stork dip. If you haven't done stork dips without weight before, you should try this movement without the med ball and then get into it with the med ball. So we're going to be assuming that side position. All of our weight's going to be up on that right foot to begin. With that med ball and nice straight arms, we're engaging the biceps a little bit, slight flexion to the elbows. Lock those shoulders down away from the ears. It should be like there's a rod traveling from the back of your head all the way down to the back of that left ankle. So nice and slow, we're tipping it forward. Notice my upper body and lower body are moving at the same pace. We're bringing it as low as we can down to that toe. You should feel that posterior chain of muscles grab, so that hamstring is going to grab in the back of the leg. We're going to tip it right back up, squeeze, and lock into position. Usually the rep, 30 seconds one side, 30 seconds the opposing side, or depending on your weight, maybe 10, 20 reps on one side, 10, 20 reps on the opposing side. This is a great stabilizing movement. It also really builds the back of the core. We usually forget about our lower back. It also really builds that stability, so you're never going to slip again. You probably won't hurt yourself as much when you're out on the pitch or when you're doing your favorite sport. The last med ball movement that I'm going to show you is from a plank movement, so we're assuming a prone position that's face down. I don't need a mat under my knees, but you can also modify by dropping down to your knees or dropping to that box position to make your push-up or your plank form a little bit easier. We're going to start with the easiest modification of this exercise. It's a plank, and we're rolling back and forth. You want to be spreading your feet a little bit wider, increase that base width, just to make it a little bit easier on those contractile structures in the core. We're going to be hitting a lot of obliques and a lot of torsional movement. Your hands are coming in on either side of that med ball. We're setting up into our plank. Like I said before, your feet should be a little bit wider, so feet not together, about 1 to 2 feet in between them. From there, we're just going to start a nice light roll. So you're just reaching up, rolling that med ball over, and then we're just going to start it moving. So it's right and left, right and left. Notice I'm in a lot of control here. I could stop at any point and I'd be okay. You want to make sure that you're squeezing through that core and you're trying to eliminate body rock. If you're doing this, that's no good. Lock that core into position. We're looking for that static stability. If you want to modify and make this movement a little bit more difficult, when you roll it over to that hand, lock one hand up, one hand down. We're going to work a push-up from here. So nice and slow, hitting that full range, not going a little too deep so you don't hurt those shoulders. Right back up, roll it across, and down. Across, and down. This is a great movement to do as well, just to increase that pectoral strength. Because a lot of our med ball movements are going to be hitting the back of the pectoral girdle and those rhomboids between your shoulder blades, it's important because our body's working on a tension system to work the front of the body as well. Body balance is extremely important, and you need to make sure that you're symmetrical the entire time. As a bonus, the last movement I'm going to be showing you is a med ball burpee. So we're taking that med ball, we're going to be bringing it down onto the floor. If you have a med ball like this that has a little bit of a bounce to it, make sure that you're not dropping it into the floor and taking it up into your face. You want to set it down nice and light. So we're dropping down, articulating those knees like we're supposed to, driving those hips back. It's back. Set that med ball down. Our hands come to the sides of the med ball. Feet come out. Up into the sides of the hands to keep that lower back nice and safe. Drop those hips, pull it in, stretch it up. So it's down, feet out, right back in, stretch it up. You can use a little bit more weight with this one because you're incorporating those large muscle groups in. If it's at the end of your workout though, try to go right for broke, try to get as much sweat out as possible, and have fun. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed my med ball workouts. Again, I'm Jordan Kapphahn representing K-Rush Fit. We're a local company out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan here in Canada. If you'd like to come out to any of the boot camps, please check out our website at www.krushfitsask.com. So that's KRUSHFITSASK.com. Catch you later.